Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you guys like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So currently we are looking at the 2024 battleground election map. This video is not going to be a prediction because I do my predictions usually at the beginning of the month. So you guys get a new updated 2024 presidential prediction tomorrow between Trump and Joe Biden. But today we have to look at some polling because they polled every single swing state. Because you can look at the national polls and you see Trump is ahead in many of them except for one released today, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But they all show Trump up big, but that doesn't mean he's winning the states where he needs to win in order to win the presidential election. We've seen mixed polling to no polling in a lot of these swing states, but the polling we've seen does show Trump up in Michigan, Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. A little bit of a mixed bag there, but you have new polls that dropped today out of Bloomberg, which is not usually the most pro-Trump outlet, not usually the most pro-Trump pollster, but does tend to be more grounded in reality than some of these other pollsters like Quinnipiac, which we'll get to. But what do they exactly show? They show Donald Trump up big in Wisconsin for one, which is absolutely huge because usually polls have vastly underestimated Trump in Wisconsin. They show him up by 5 in Michigan, up by 3 in Pennsylvania, up by 10 in North Carolina, 3 in Arizona, 8 in Georgia, and 8 in Nevada. So if you want to put this on the election map here, you move North Carolina to safe of all things. I don't know if that's going to hold up because there are a lot of undecided. So let's just move it to likely I'll move it to likely. Michigan, put that one as likely. Wisconsin is likely. Pennsylvania as lean. Georgia as likely. Arizona as lean. And Nevada as likely. That would put Donald Trump comfortably at 312 electoral votes, and it would showcase that Joe Biden is in a whole lot of trouble right now, because if you're talking about a clean sweep across the board, then you talk about states like Minnesota being in play, New Hampshire being in play, some of these other states which usually go heavily in the Democrat column for a state that's somewhat competitive, if that makes sense. So this is absolutely huge because you talk about the swing voters reverting back to Donald Trump. Maybe they took a chance on Biden. Maybe they sat out 2020. But now they realize things are getting bad. Things are getting very bad, and Biden's own support base is very just apathetic for various reasons. Biden's struggling with black voters and energizing them, Hispanic voters and energizing them. Meanwhile, Trump is making inroads without even doing a whole lot of outreach to Hispanic voters, but still, it is compounding. We see in poll after poll after poll, he's polling in the 40s. Do polls tend to overestimate Republicans with minorities in terms of black voters usually? But still, there is something to be said that Trump is improving among Hispanic voters, but still he's also making the main focus on the blue-collar Midwesterners, which are mainly white working-class voters. He's chasing those union voters in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania a lot more than he was back in 2020. And as a result, it's paying dividends for him on the electoral map. But his floor is the same floor that he had back in 2020. You can add North Carolina to the mix. I think he wins it mainly just because the state party is getting increasingly competent, and that plays a major role. But Trump is kind of able to transcend that in a way. And that's what's going to put states like Michigan potentially in his column, Wisconsin, Arizona, states where there's kind of a little bit of chaos going on in terms of the GOP. But you're looking at this. These are not the only polls to show this, but they were released today. And it shows that people are fed up with the current state of affairs. They are fed up with this administration. And you could look into the poll and you could get even more intel because you look at the issues. They asked, who do you trust to handle the economy? Donald Trump up 51-33. Infrastructure, Trump up 43-37, and that's with Biden, pushing through an infrastructure bill that we're never really going to see the fruits of for like a decade, and even then it's pretty minimal and had a lot of liberal pork inside of it. Housing, Trump up by 5. I think it should be more than that if Trump gets the message across, though, because, mortgage rates are out of control, and Biden's done nothing about it. Also, crime, Trump by 17. Immigration, Trump by 22. U.S.-China relations, Trump by 18. Climate change does favor Biden, but only by 11 points, and it's not that important of an issue. If you look at this, it's only an issue that has the importance of, I think, 4% say it's the most important. Even abortion is 6% in this poll, so you're looking at that there. And you go on to see education, it's a wash. Guns, favoring Trump for some reason, which it's going to be interesting to see how they try to milk the whole tragedy that took place in the state of Pennsylvania last night. It turns out that some guy did something that was absolutely horrendous, and he happened to say something negative about Biden, so the media is like running with it. But even then, he praised Josh Shapiro, and he also said that he wanted Trump to go to jail. So he's just a mental case. So they can try to milk that in their favor. I don't believe it's going to make a difference. It'll be out of the news in a couple of weeks, but just a tragic situation. The guy should have been locked up in a mental institution. He should have no place in society. But also on abortion, this is a wash. Donald Trump is only down by 3 on the Democrats' leading issue, and partially because Trump is taking a more moderate approach in tone to the issue. He's basically saying, leave it up to the states, and he's also saying we oppose late-term abortion. I think both of those things have majority support, if not close to it. Of course, Biden's going to try to say, well, Trump overturned Roe v. Wade, but you can't do anything about it at this point, to the point where it's likely not going to make as much of a difference as people think. Also, entitlements. For a Republican to be running even on entitlements, abortion, education, to be ahead on guns, that's absolutely unheard of, but you're seeing this here. Democracy. Democracy is all Biden talks about, but I mean, when you're trying to put your leading political opponent in jail, people kind of understand that you're not exactly going to be winning on that issue as much as you think, regardless of how many times you say threat to democracy. He's only up by 1 on the issue. He's up by 1 on healthcare. These are issues that usually favor Democrats heavily. They're off the table. Unions. Trump's winning unions by 4, believe it or not. Russia, Ukraine. Trump is up by 12. He's up by 15 on the Israel-Hamas war. On the fentanyl epidemic, he's up by 10. So every single issue, for the most part, is favoring Trump, except for like climate change and abortion. But even then, his margin for a Republican is extremely good on those issues. Biden has nothing to run on because he's hated on everything. He could say, hey, I'm not Trump. Hey, I don't send mean tweets. Is that going to make the difference? I don't know. And I'm sure we're going to have a lot of detractors that are going to mention the other poll that came out today. And because I'm not somebody who likes to ignore things just because they happen to be bad news, and I still like to analyze them, we're going to analyze it because Quinnipiac put out a poll that shows Nikki Haley's beating Biden by 5, but Trump is losing to Biden in the popular vote by 6 percentage points, which is unlike any other poll we've seen. And I'll critique polls like Rasmussen that have Trump up by 8 nationwide. It's unlikely that he's leading by that much, and it's unlikely Biden's leading by really anything at all, given what all the other polls are saying, but he's definitely not up by 6. But this poll shows that Biden is running even among white voters with Trump, but Trump is also winning Hispanics. But at the same time, Trump loses every single age group to Biden, including seniors, by the most. And Nikki Haley, on the other hand, is winning the poll by 5, but she's winning every age group except seniors. It doesn't really seem to add up. I think this is a push poll for Haley. It could be. And it's going to be thrown in the aggregate. Maybe it's an aggregate corrector at most, but it's an outlier. Just like the polls that have had Trump up by 10, they're outliers, that we know. And even then, when they pull the third-party candidates, Trump is only down to Biden by 2, which still gives him a sizable electoral college victory. So it's interesting to see what happens here. I think you see this poll showing Haley doing better, trying to boost her, give her a talking point. But is it going to make a difference? No. I'm sure the next poll that gets released is probably going to go a little bit back to the mean. Biden still might be leading the poll. But the last poll that they released was pretty much, tied. It was 47 Biden, 46 for Trump. I don't believe a lot has changed since then that would cause Trump to lose ground, despite all the other polls showing him gaining ground. But still, like I say, take every poll you see with a grain of salt. It doesn't matter if it makes Trump look good. I mean, it's fun to see those polls for sure. Or if it makes him look bad, which it's not so fun to see those polls as somebody who supports Trump. But the bottom line is, treat this election like it's a dogfight. Treat this election like Trump is trailing in every single swing state by, a few points. So you go out there, you help, you get involved, and you make sure that Trump plays from behind, because that's how you win. Democrats always play from behind, and then they play for keeps. Republicans don't do it. Republicans have been losing elections recently because of complacency, and we see that, and I think it's important, and it's my duty to tell people not to be complacent. You can be optimistic, you can believe Trump's going to win, but that doesn't mean that you are not going to have to work for it, because we absolutely all do. We have to convince people, we have to get people out to vote, we have to volunteer, we have to phone bank, we have to do a lot of things that I'm sure we'll be talking about next month, but it is the end of the month. And this is the final video on the channel, but there's a lot more content coming your way next month, and that is for certain. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Red Eagle, out.